Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. I'm here with Robert Gomes to talk about his film, Stand By. Let's take a look at a clip.
You all set, hun?
Uh-huh, thanks.
Oh, God. Here, let me.
Oh. Oh, thanks.
Oh. So, what did you do in the war, Daddy?
Fought back, mostly. You?
Oh, you know. Survived, mostly.
Yeah.
Robert, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, New Filmmakers, and it's great to talk to you.
Yeah, it's really great to talk to you. So tell us about the origins of this film.
Okay. I've been an actor my entire life, and in my career, I basically started with a theater company called Circle Repertory Company back in back in the early '80s. So one of my first jobs was as an actor, was as an understudy with a small part on stage. And that's the difference between a standby and an understudy, by the way. An understudy usually has a part in the play,
Right,
and
okay.
they cover a part, an actor in the play. They'll learn their part. Yeah. A standby is the same thing, learns another actor's part, but they're backstage through most of the show. So in my long career of doing Broadway, off-Broadway, some film, some TV, a lot of my jobs, especially if I wanted to stay in New York, were as a understudy or a standby. So I have a lot of experience, and eventually I think once I started to get film work, and I started to become interested in all the things that, when I was on set, I'd be like, what are you doing? And what are you doing? And trying to learn everybody's like, oh, that's interesting. I started to fall more in love with film from that side. And so what happened was I was part of a writer's group. I wrote a little screenplay about being an understudy because I thought, oh, well, what's speaking to me? And I thought, well, this is definitely my life experience. And so I started with that script, and that's going back to probably 2009 was the first version of this script.
Okay. So talk about the scripting process. How much of what we see on screen is your life, and how much of it is a fictional story?
It is a fiction, but it's all, almost frame for frame, I could probably tell you an anecdote about something that came from this experience. So I had a very long stint as an understudy for Paul Rudd in a Broadway show called The Last Night of Ballyhoo, and that was a year and some months. And then another stint at Lincoln Center covering. And those experiences, basically, because you're doing it for so long, they all start to filter into my script. And so as I was writing it, I was sort of like, it was informing me again of like, oh yeah, I remember this happening and all that. And so a lot of the humor in the script came out. I was like, oh yeah, that was really funny. But once you're back in that world, you're remembering, you always rehearse on a Thursday because it's the day after the 2-show matinee evening show. So Thursday is the best because the stage manager he's got to run the rehearsal. The director doesn't run the rehearsal. And then Friday, everyone's going into their weekend shows of a Friday night, 2 shows Saturday, 2 shows Sunday. So, Thursday is the day. And so that's the day my movie is set on. It's the whole day of them rehearsing what the understudy's going through, standbys are going through, kind of bored. They know that at this point it's been 6 months. They know the show. One of the younger actors is saying, I'm phoning it in at this point, and the older actor's, more frustrated. And he's certain his experience is certainly very close to mine. So there's a lot of, and so the things I filtered in there, and I don't know if anybody is catching it, but I hope so. His shoes need repairing, but he doesn't have the money to get new shoes yet. He's a standby for an off-Broadway show, so he's not making a ton of money. His family is sending him self-help books, and it's like, right? He worked, but he did an incredible performance there. That one of his co-actors his co-standbys has seen. So there's this kind of, you realize this guy's as good as probably the guy who's got the role. But this is how this guy's making money, is covering. And the producers are smart of the play because they want a good actor to play that part. But it doesn't always pay well to be a standby. Broadway it does, but off-Broadway they've adjusted a little bit. But back in the day when I was really first starting to do standby stuff, I'd get a standby job and I'd think, okay, I better go get a part-time job while I'm being a standby. And it's a harder job than the guys who have the role because contractually you have 2 weeks to learn it. You have to be able to perform it in 2 weeks. If you haven't had a rehearsal, you can say, I'll go on with the script, but you have to be ready to do that role. And in my movie, the guy is, that's a huge role. It's
It's like, I was gonna ask you now, is that the play within the film, is that a real play or is that a play you made up
I made
to
up.
go with this?
I made it up, yes, to go with this because part of his, he's a queer man, so part of his thing is that he's been through sort of the 80s and the AIDS crisis. A lot of people don't, younger people, and especially the younger actor, he doesn't understand it.
Right.
But what I was trying to point out was that here he is doing a play set in the 80s, and it's making it look like a farce and kind of the down and dirty but kind of fun 80s. But he, when he goes to get ready for the performance, you realize he has an act up triangle tattoo, and that he actually was part of the resistance to fighting the FDA, trying to get drugs moved faster. And his dresser, who's his age, is also has also been through it too. And so they have that moment together in the mirror where it's like, what did you do in the war? So that's why, so I wrote that play. I wrote about 5 scenes from it. I had to write the dialogue that they were all going to be doing.
Wow.
And then design the set and figure out what the play's about. But the important thing for me with that play, it's called The Con Artiste. And I wanted it to reflect, he's a con, Jerry is a con because he's the understudy, he's not the real guy. So you're sort of doing a con.
Right.
And then also the whole thing about the money, the whole thing in the play is about these art dealers trying to kind of take advantage of like a Basquiat. I based him on Basquiat. So they're trying to take advantage of this, young, cool, downtown, person of color, these white gallery dealers from up on 57th Street come down to prey on this guy.
I was there.
Yes,
I know.
so you know. And so I wanted it to be about money versus art because that's what Jerry's going through. He's an artist, he doesn't have enough money, he's doing this job for the dollars and maybe getting his shot to go on. But at the age when you're that age, you're wanting to go on is not as big a deal. You just want the paycheck and you want to be ready to do the work. The younger people are like, I want to go on, I want to get on the stage. And I noticed that shifted for me too when I was an understudy. Am I talking too much? I feel like I'm yakking my
this
head
is
off.
wonderful because I didn't get a lot of the things that
Oh.
you're talking about when I
shoot.
saw the film. I mean, I loved it. I loved
It's
the
subtle.
film.
I mean, I layered
And
it
from
in.
what's there, just as the story,
Yeah.
the scope, I got the world of the standbys
Yep.
and the understudies, I got that. And then that amazing performance. I mean, the character, Reed Birney,
Reed
is the
Birney,
actor.
yes.
He was kind of this docile guy,
Yeah.
very quiet. But then when he got to stage and makeup and costume, he just became
Yeah.
electric on stage, and the colors and his costume.
Right.
It was such a beautiful contrast, as is. But even now you're telling me the layers of symbolism and history that was layered in there. It's so fantastic.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily something everybody's going to get, but for me, it was a way to like go, I can make it. Just it limited my choices of like what that play is going to be about. So I was like, oh, okay. So I'll just make it this. I don't have to worry about. I'm going to make it pertain to his life.
Right.
So I'm so glad you mentioned the thing about. I had a version of it where you saw him in rehearsal and you saw his performance. And because of COVID, and I did a lot of rewrites to try to make it more COVID friendly. COVID shut us down like 3 times. But I decided to keep it, to not show his performance until he went on because the contrast.
Yes.
exactly, you got that. So the contrast would be so like, oh my God, this guy who we thought, can he do it?
He's reading all the time. You
Yeah,
see
so-
him. and
sorry.
He
Yeah.
was just like, wow, okay.
Yeah, he's
amazing.
very, I wanted to keep him very like, not monosyllabic, but almost.
I get it, I
Very
get it.
subtle guy, does his work, goes home. Everyone else is frustrated and talking a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
But the color too, the color palette was a big deal because I wanted the first part in the green room to look like a Hopper, like an Edward Hopper painting. So we locked down the camera so that everything was very still and stagnant. And it was a risk because it's like, is this boring? But I knew the actors would carry it,
Right.
but I wanted it to be like, oh, it's really framed up. But the minute he finds out he's going on is the first time the camera comes off the sticks. And then it's like handheld the rest of the film.
Right, and the color palette changes too, as you said just
Right.
now, because it's very that brown stage.
Browns
you
and
know,
greens.
in the background,
Yep.
in the green room, if
Yeah,
you will.
yeah.
And then when he goes to makeup, and then the
Right.
costume, and then the stage,
Right.
the set of the stage, was very vibrant.
So we
as
had to,
well.
like I said to my designers, and my producer, Dee Schroff, he has a background in design too, and production design. And I said, and so he was helpful with all this and had input. So the important thing for me was that there wasn't any real pops of color in the beginning. When we got to the concept was in the dressing room, he's in the womb. So it was very pink and red and sort of just like, oh, we're hoping he's gonna give birth. The outside in the hallway, very cool colors, like, can he do it? And then when he got on stage, and this was my experience as an understudy, you don't rehearse under the lights. They don't turn the lights on because they have to hire an electrician to come and turn on the lights. So you walk on that stage and it's like, I've never seen these like colors before. And I wanted the audience to have that. Like, bam, it's bright colors. He's in pink. They're in bright 80s costumes.
Things like that.
Yeah, so
So
I'm glad you
cool.
got that.
I'm loving hearing those details. Talk about your production team of the film,
Yeah.
and the time span, how long it took you to shoot, and
Yeah.
DPs and things. Yeah, talk about your physical
Yeah,
productions.
okay. Well, I had a line producer, a really good line producer. She introduced me to Clara Peterson. She introduced me to, Jamal, my DP had come on board already. Jamal Solomon was my DP. Great guy. I met with a few DPs. We really clicked. We had a lot of the same references in terms of like films that we liked and all. So he was on board pretty early on, but then, like I said, we thought we got to the point where we had raised the money, we had the cast. I wrote it for a woman that I was an understudy with at Ballyhoo, Pat Nesbitt. She plays Trish, and my close friend Chuck Blasius plays the dresser. And so I had kind of written it on people, so some of the casting was done.
Okay.
But we hired Stephanie Clapper to come in, and she cast it, and I said, it'd be really great if everybody just has a theater background. I want good film performances, of course, but they could come on set and they would just know the world, so that was really helpful. The design element, Rob Odoricio, who has designed on Broadway, off-Broadway, he came in and worked on all the design. So that green room, is all, that we shot in a theater, but that's not their green room. We made that, and he did a beautiful job. And so when we got shut down a few times, we were in all this pre-production, I was about to put the money down on the location the week that they said, everyone go home. Then we waited it out, we kept waiting. Well, then, the business came back, but now you need a COVID captain. Couldn't afford a COVID captain, so it was like, all right. So we just kept waiting. And then there was a strike. There were a lot of things that came up that kind of were roadblocks. But we just kept going. Okay, we're going to wait this out. We're going to, and so we basically, and then we even had a COVID scare. We had our rehearsal with all the actors. Kelly Bishop, who I don't know if you know from Gilmore Girls, and she's the featured actress playing Glenna. She came in, but then she called me after the rehearsal, and we were going to shoot a week later, and she said, I've been in contact with someone who's tested positive for COVID, and I was like, oh my God, we're a week away. Everything is paid for. Everything's in the shoot. So, but I mean, it all worked out. It was a 4-day shoot for 28 pages, which is a lot.
Wow.
I storyboarded every inch of it so that I wouldn't waste time, and even then. Things happened and time got wasted and I lost shots, which is, I can still cry a little looking at certain things. I'm like, it's not exactly what I wanted. But we had the theater, we had days on either side to load in, load out. The tricky thing was that you had to have a set that looked like a real off-Broadway set on the stage. Otherwise, no one would buy it.
Right, exactly.
So we really had to think about the set design. So there were so many elements that were...
And it
to be thought
read
of.
so real. I mean, like I said,
Oh,
I'm
good.
from New York, so I know those theaters and,
Yeah.
for a very, very long time. And it had that period feel also for the play within the movie.
Great.
It had a
We're really glad to hear
great
that.
feel. So if there's any one lesson that you could share with new upcoming filmmakers, what would it be, the lesson that you learned during this process?
Well, I think I need a drink of water before I say this. One lesson.
Yeah, just one. We don't have time for one.
'Cause
but
there are a lot
I
of
know,
lessons.
I'm sure you could write a book about the lesson.
So perseverance for sure. Don't let anyone, this took years for us to make this. So I think it's believe in it, keep going, but also just let yourself, it's something that you love and you want to express. It's an art form. Don't let any, people might say, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. There's ways to do it. And I think just, stay with it. And if it's something that you love and you really need to do it, and keep writing, keep absorbing other things. Like I used a painter. There was one solve in the edit where I was like, oh, I remember this film I saw where they did this thing where it blacked out and it came back and it blacked out and it came back to the same image over and over. And I was like, we could use that because we didn't have enough footage. So I was like, just use a lot of sources, pull from a lot of things, music, paintings, whatever, absorb.
Yeah, I'm a big on borrowing from all the arts because film incorporates all the art forms. It does.
Yeah.
Every film incorporates all the art forms.
It
So
does.
tell us where we can follow you and find out more about your film and what other things you're working on.
Yeah, so the website is Stand By The Film, all like one word, standbythefilm.com, and we're at Stand By The Film on Instagram.
Okay.
I think, and Stand By The Film is on Facebook, but I don't know if anybody's doing, I mean, people my age are doing Facebook. So that's what's going on right now. We're doing the festival circuit and maybe hoping that spring and summer. My producer, Dee Schroff, has a feature-length screenplay that we're looking at. It's called Broken Arrow. He's very excited about, I'm very excited about, he's polishing that. So that seems like it's probably next up, but I'm writing a series, I'm working on a series set in Austin. And something that's either a play or a movie, I haven't decided yet. It's really talky, but I'm like, I'm a guy who likes dialogue, so.
Right, coming out of theater.
Coming out of theater,
Of course.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us about your film.
I'm
I
happy to.
really enjoyed talking and really enjoyed your film.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for having me, and thanks to New Filmmakers, yeah.